Speak Up, your guide to confident group conversations in English. Introduction. Have you ever stood near a group of people talking in English? You hear them laugh and share ideas, but you feel like there's a wall between you and them. Maybe you had something good to say, something that would help the talk, but the words wouldn't come out. You might worry about stopping someone, or that they won't understand you. Or you might fear losing your turn in the fast talk. This is normal. It's like being in a fast river and not knowing how to get in or find a moment to rest. This is not about how good your English is. It's about a special skill, talking in a group. This book will help you learn this skill. We call it confident group speaking. It means you can join a group talk easily. You can share your ideas clearly even when others are talking. You can keep your turn to speak without being rude. It means you feel in charge of your speaking time. You don't feel like you are being pushed along or ignored. Confident group speaking is not about being the loudest. It's not about having perfect English. It's just about knowing how to be part of the talk. It's about making sure your voice is heard. It's about sharing your own special ideas. Our aim is to give you simple, useful tools. These tools will help you change from just listening to being an active part of the talk. Think about going to your next meeting, party, or study group. Imagine feeling sure of yourself. Imagine knowing how to find your chance to speak. Imagine saying your idea clearly. Imagine keeping the talk going in a good way. This book will show you how. You will learn easy ways to join talks, even when they have already started. We will share simple words and ways to help you share your ideas so everyone understands. You will also learn how to politely keep your turn to speak. You will learn how to ask for more details. You will learn how to make sure your voice is heard without bothering others. This guide is for any English learner. It's for you if you want to feel more relaxed and in charge when talking with others in a group. What you think is important. Your ideas can make talks better and more useful. This book will help you feel sure enough to share what you know. Are you ready to stop feeling like you are on the outside? Are you ready to start talking and joining in? Let's start your journey to confident group speaking. 1. Joining English group talks. It is a common feeling. You are in a group, maybe at work, maybe with friends, and people are talking. Ideas are flying. Laughter bursts out. You have something you want to say, a thought that pops into your mind, a link you have made to the talk. But a small voice inside whispers, "Do not interrupt." Or, "What if no one understands me?" Or even more scary, "What if I say the wrong thing and everyone looks at me?" This waiting, this feeling of being outside and looking in, is something many English learners feel. It is very normal. The good news is, it does not have to be your story. Learning to join these talks is like learning to swim. At first, it feels strange and a little scary, but with the right movements, you will soon be moving along with ease. This part is all about giving you those movements, those simple, clear ways to move from listening to joining to truly feeling like you fit in the talk. Joining English group talks. Think of a group talk like a busy street. People are walking, talking, sometimes stopping to chat. You want to join a group of friends who are talking with energy. You cannot just push your way in, right? You need to find a natural moment, a small opening, to step into their path and say hello. That is very much what joining an English group talk is like. It is about finding that natural opening. One of the biggest worries for anyone learning English is the fear of interrupting. It is like walking into a room and the talk stops because you came in. That is a tough feeling. You might worry that your English is not perfect, or that you will miss your chance to speak. You might think, everyone else is so fast, they will finish before I can even think of a sentence. This fear can make you stay quiet even when you have brilliant ideas. But here is the secret. Most people in a group talk do not want to shut you out. They are usually happy when someone new joins in, bringing fresh thoughts. The key is to join in a respectful way and smoothly. It is not about interrupting, it is about finding a polite way to enter. The first, and perhaps most important, tool you have is your ears. Listening carefully is your best friend when you want to join a group. Do not just hear the words. Try to understand the rhythm of the talk. Listen for moments when the energy drops just a little. This could be a short pause after someone finishes their thought. It could be when a speaker finishes a sentence and looks around, as if asking, "What do you think?" Sometimes, the topic might naturally change, and that is an opening. Imagine a wave. It builds up, reaches its top, and then gently rolls back. You want to step onto the shore during that gentle roll back, not when the wave is crashing down. When you hear a short silence, or when a speaker seems to be looking for agreement or a new view, that is your signal. It is not about waiting for a long, awkward silence. It is about noticing the natural ups and downs. Now let us talk about the magic words. These are simple phrases that act like a polite knock on the door before you step inside. They show that you want to share, and they give others a moment to notice you. They are your gentle entrance. One very useful phrase is, "Excuse me, could I add something here?" This is polite and direct. It asks for permission, which is always a good way to start. The other people in the talk will likely nod or say, "Yes, please," giving you the chance to speak. Another great option is to connect your idea to what someone else just said. This shows you were listening and helps keep the talk going. You can say, "That's an interesting point. I was thinking," or building on what speaker's name said. Using the speaker's name, if you know it, makes it even more personal and shows you are paying attention. If you do not know their name, you can simply say, "Building on what the last speaker said," or "That's a good point about X. My thought is." Sometimes you just need to show you want to speak quickly. A phrase like, "If I could just jump in for a second," works well. It tells people you have something brief to share and you will not take up too much time. It is like saying, "Hold that thought for just one moment. I have a quick idea." What about those moments when you are not sure if it is a good time, but you really want to say something? You can try a phrase that shows you are not trying to take over. Something like, "I have a slightly different perspective on that, if that's okay?" This shows you are offering another view, not challenging in a harsh way. These phrases are your tools for finding your moment. They are simple, easy to remember, and most importantly, they are polite. They help you step into the talk without feeling like you are pushing your way in. They are the bridge between listening and speaking. But it is not just about the words you use. Your body language plays a huge part too. Think about it. If you are slumped in your chair, looking at the floor, and someone suddenly speaks, do you think they will notice you? Probably not. But if you were sitting up a little straighter, maybe leaning forward a little, and you make eye contact with someone in the group, you are already sending a signal. You are saying, "I am here and I am paying attention." Nodding when someone is speaking shows you are listening and agreeing or understanding. A slight smile can make you seem easier to approach. When you see a natural pause coming, you can even subtly move your body, as if you were about to speak. These small, silent signals are like little flags that say, "I have something to share." They make it easier for other people in the group to notice your intention to speak and to invite you in. It is like a gentle wave hello that says, "I am ready to join the talk." The journey to speaking confidently in groups is often a step-by-step process. You do not have to start by jumping into a huge, formal meeting with people you have never met. That can be too much. Instead, I always suggest starting small. Think about the talks you have every day. Maybe it is with a few colleagues during a coffee break. Perhaps it is a small group of friends discussing a movie. These are perfect places to practice. Try using one of the simple joining phrases we talked about. Pick a moment when you have a clear thought. Do not worry too much about making it perfect. The goal is simply to participate. When you successfully join a small talk, notice how it feels. Did people listen? Did they respond to your idea? Even if the response was not exactly what you hoped for, you took a step. You practiced. You learned. Each time you do this, your confidence grows. It is like building a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. As you get more comfortable in smaller groups, you can slowly move to slightly larger ones or maybe a more formal setting. The key is to build on your successes. Celebrate those small wins. You spoke up. You shared your idea. You were heard. That is a huge achievement. Let us think about Maria. Maria is a fantastic designer, but in team meetings, she often stayed quiet. She understood the projects, she had great ideas, but the thought of interrupting or not being understood made her freeze. She told me once, "It's like there's a glass wall around me. I can see and hear everything, but I can't break through to speak." One day, her team was discussing a new marketing campaign. Everyone was throwing out ideas. Maria had a really strong visual idea that she felt would work perfectly. She saw a small pause after one of her colleagues finished talking about colors. Her heart started to beat faster. She remembered a tip from this book. Listen for the pause. She took a breath and said, in a clear but not loud voice, "Excuse me, could I add something here?" A few people turned to her. Her manager smiled and said, "Yes, Maria, please go ahead." Maria felt a rush of relief. She then said, "I was thinking about the colors we discussed. What if we used a bolder, contrasting shade for the main logo? I have a quick sketch I can show you." She quickly pulled out a notepad and showed them her idea. The team was impressed. They had not thought of that. They asked her to explain more. For the first time in a long time, Maria felt truly part of the discussion. She did not interrupt. She found her moment. She used a simple, polite phrase. And her idea was heard and valued. She told me later, "That little phrase, 'Excuse me, could I add something here?' was like a key. It unlocked the door for me." This brings us to the first analytical question. What are the most common internal barriers, for example, fear of making mistakes, not knowing what to say that prevent English learners from joining group conversations, and how can the strategies presented directly address these? The fear of making mistakes is huge. We are all afraid of looking foolish. When you are learning a new language, the chances of making a small grammar error or using the wrong word can feel much higher. This fear can make you unable to move. The strategies we have discussed address this by focusing on politeness and clarity of intention rather than perfect grammar. Phrases like "Excuse me, could I add something?" or "I was thinking" are designed to be easy to say and understand, even if your English is not perfect. They put your desire to share before flawless delivery. The focus is on sharing your ideas, not on being a perfect English speaker. Another barrier is not knowing what to say. Sometimes the talk moves so fast, or the topic is so complex that you feel lost. The advice to listen for your moment helps with this. It means you do not have to have a brilliant, fully formed speech ready. You can listen to what others are saying, find a point you connect with, and then offer a related thought or a question. You do not need to have the most complex idea. Sometimes, a simple observation or a question for clarity can be very valuable. For example, if the group is discussing a technical term you do not fully understand, you can politely ask, "Could you explain what term means? I want to make sure I understand correctly." This not only helps you, but also helps others who might have the same question. The fear of not being heard is also significant. You might speak, but your voice is quiet, or you are drowned out by louder speakers. This is where the silent signals become crucial. Sitting up, leaning in, making eye contact. These actions make you more visible and easier to hear. When you use a joining phrase, say it with a clear, steady voice. Do not whisper. Imagine you are speaking to one person at a time, even if there are many. This helps project your voice and your confidence. The second analytical question we need to explore is, beyond simply saying "excuse me," what are specific linguistic and non-linguistic strategies that can make a learner's attempt to join a conversation feel natural and welcomed by native speakers? Saying "excuse me" is a great start, but it is just the first step. To make your entry feel truly natural and welcomed, you need to weave your contribution into the existing flow of the conversation. This is where phrases that connect your idea to others are so powerful. In terms of language, using phrases that build on what others have said is key. Instead of just launching into your own topic, try, "That's a great idea about X. It made me think about Y. Have we considered this?" Shows you have processed their input and are adding to it. "I agree with speaker's name about point. And I also think that." Ooh. Speaking up when others are talking. Have you ever been in a group chat, listening to everyone talk, and a great idea comes to your mind? You really want to share it, but the talk keeps going. Someone else says something, then another person joins in, and before you know it, your chance is gone. It feels bad, right? Like you want to say something, but can't, and your good idea just disappears. This happens to many people learning English, and it makes them feel shy in group talks. But I want you to know this feeling can change. You can learn to speak up even when the talk is fast. It's not about being loud or rude. It's about finding your spot and sharing your thoughts. Think of a group talk like a river. Sometimes the water flows smoothly. Other times, it moves fast with waves. When you are learning to speak English in groups, it can feel like you are trying to jump into a fast river. You don't want to be carried away, and you don't want to stop the flow for others. But you do want to put your feet in, or even swim a little. The important thing is to understand how the river flows and learn how to join in nicely. This is not about interrupting in a bad way. It's about finding polite ways to join, share your thoughts, or gently bring the talk back to what you wanted to say. This is a main part of confident group speaking, having the courage and skills to be an active part of the talk, not just someone who listens. So, let's talk about that moment when you want to speak, but someone else is already talking. It can feel like a closed door. But there are ways to open that door in a nice and helpful way. The first thing to know is the difference between a rude interruption and a smooth entry. A rude interruption is like bursting into a room without knocking. It's sudden, it can surprise people, and it often makes the other person feel like they weren't heard. It stops the talk. A smooth entry, on the other hand, is like gently knocking and then stepping in when you are welcomed. It shows you heard the talk and finds a natural way to add to it. It's about adding, not taking over. This is where learning a few simple phrases can help a lot. Imagine Sarah. Sarah is nice. She has very interesting ideas about art and history. But in group talks, especially in English, she often felt like no one saw her. When she wanted to speak, someone else would already be talking and her mind would go blank. She worried she would be rude if she spoke. She would wait for a quiet moment, but often there was no quiet moment, or someone else would speak first. She felt stuck. One day she was at a book club meeting. They were talking about why a character did things. Sarah had a smart thought about how the character's past made them act. She saw a very small break in the talk, and instead of staying quiet, she took a deep breath and said, very quietly, "Excuse me, can I add something here?" The person who was about to speak stopped, looked at her, and smiled. "Of course, Sarah," they said. Sarah then explained her idea, and it really made the talk better. She felt warm inside. It was a small moment, but it felt big. She had found her voice. Sarah learned that having a few polite phrases was like having a key to that closed door. These are not hard sentences. They are simple, friendly ways to show you want to share. For example, if someone has just finished a thought, or if there is a very short pause, you can try, "Excuse me, can I add something here?" This is a direct but nice way to ask to speak. It shows you respect the person talking. Or you could say, "Sorry to jump in, but I had a thought about that." The word sorry here is not an apology for being rude, but a nice way to say you are joining mid-talk. It's like saying, "I know I'm joining a bit late, but my thought is useful." Another very helpful phrase is, "If I could just add to what speaker's name said." Using the speaker's name makes it personal and shows you were listening closely. It makes your idea seem like it's building on their idea, not taking its place. This is a great way to show you care about what they said. And if someone's point makes you think of something similar, you can say, "That's a great point, and it reminds me of this." Connects your thought directly to what was just said, making it feel very natural. The important thing with all these phrases is their gentle way of speaking and how they focus on adding to the talk, not interrupting it. They are tools for confident group speaking, helping you feel more in control of your part in the conversation. Now, what if you were speaking and someone interrupted you? This can feel very surprising. It's like someone walking in front of you when you're walking. It's easy to feel upset or even angry. But in group talks, especially when English is not everyone's first language, interruptions can sometimes happen without meaning to be bad. Someone might get excited about a topic, or they might not know you weren't finished. The goal is to get your point back without causing a fight. Here, you can use phrases like, "As I was saying, this is a clear sign that you had more to say and you were going back to it." It's direct but not mean. Another choice is, "Going back to my point." This is similar, gently guiding the talk back to your idea. Sometimes, a small, silent signal can help too. While you are speaking, if you feel an interruption coming, you can keep looking at the person you are talking to or at the group, and maybe lift your hand a little, with your palm facing out, as if to say, "Just a moment." It's a movement that can show you aren't done. If the interruption happens and you forget what you were going to say, you can mention it briefly before continuing. For example, you could say, "That's an interesting thought, interrupter's name, and as I was saying before, my point was." This shows you heard their idea while firmly, but nicely taking back your speaking time. These ways are all about keeping your presence and making sure your ideas are heard, which is the heart of confident group speaking. Knowing when to speak is just as important as knowing how to speak up. This is what we mean by reading the room. Different groups have different feelings. A very formal business meeting might have strict rules about who speaks when. A casual chat with friends will likely be more relaxed. As you join more group talks, you will start to see these differences. Watch how others speak. Do they often talk over each other a little? Or do they wait for a clear sign before they start speaking? Notice the quiet moments. Are they long and inviting, or very short? For example, in a team meeting at work, you might notice that people wait for the main speaker to finish their sentence completely before joining in. They might even wait for a nod from the speaker. In this case, a very nice phrase like, "Excuse me, if I may add something," might be the best way. But in a study group, where everyone is sharing ideas, the energy might be higher. People might finish each other's sentences more often, or jump in with quick reactions. Here, a phrase like, "Oh, that reminds me," or building on that might work perfectly. Learning to see these small signs helps you choose the right moment and the right phrase, making you feel more comfortable and less likely to make a mistake. It's like learning the beat of a song before you start to dance. It's also important to remember that this is a skill and skills need practice. When you first try to use these phrases, it might feel a little odd. Your voice might shake a bit, or you might worry too much about saying the perfect thing. That's completely normal. Think back to when you first learned to ride a bike. You probably wobbled and maybe even fell a few times. But each time, you learned a little more. Speaking up in groups is the same. Each time you try, even if it's just a small step, you are building your confidence and getting better. Let's think about another moment. Imagine David in his English class. He is learning about different cultures. The teacher asks, "What is a common greeting in your country?" David knows the answer, but he sees 3 other students start to speak at the same time. He feels that familiar feeling of holding back. He wants to share, but he's afraid of being too loud or interrupting. He stays quiet. Then, Maria, who is also learning English, takes a breath. She waits for a very short pause between 2 of the other students. She smiles at the teacher and says, "Excuse me, teacher, can I add something here?" The teacher smiles back and nods. Maria then explains, "In my country, it is common to bow slightly when greeting older people." Her contribution is clear, polite, and adds useful information. David sees this and feels a bit of hope. He realizes that Maria was also learning, but she found a way to speak. The questions we've looked at are very important for building this skill. Let's look a little closer. What are those small signs in a group talk that show a good moment to speak up? These are often very small things. It could be the speaker's breath. When someone takes a breath, especially at the end of a sentence or a thought, that's often a natural opening. It could be a small change in their body, a slight lean back, or a look around the group as if they are finishing. Sometimes, it's a very short silence, a tiny pause that lasts just a second or two. For someone learning English, practicing to notice these signs can feel like learning to hear a new kind of music. You have to pay attention to the rhythm of the conversation. You can practice this by just watching in talks, even if you don't speak. Watch people's faces, their hands, how they stand. Listen to the pauses. Over time, you will start to feel these moments more naturally. And how are the suggested phrases for speaking up different from truly rude interruptions? What makes them work and be polite? The difference is in what you mean and how you say it. A rude interruption is usually about forcing your point in, often with a loud voice or an impatient tone. It ignores what the other person is saying. The polite phrases we talked about, like "Excuse me, can I add something?" Or "If I could just add to what speaker's name said," work because they show respect. They show you heard the talk and are asking for a moment to add. The words themselves are gentle, and when spoken in a calm, friendly way, they make people want to listen. They are like offering a gift of your idea rather than demanding attention. They are about working together, which is a key part of confident group speaking. Besides specific phrases, what silent signals can help a learner try to speak up without seeming aggressive or demanding? This is where how you stand and the sound of your voice play a big role. When you want to speak, try to stand in a relaxed way. Don't bend your shoulders or look at the floor. Instead, sit or stand up a little straighter. Look at the person you are talking to, or at the group. A gentle smile can also make a big difference. It shows you are friendly and open. Your voice is also important. Speak clearly but not too loudly. A calm, steady voice is more welcoming than a rushed or worried one. If you feel nervous, take a deep breath before you speak. It sounds simple, but it can really help to make your voice steady. These silent signals work with your words to create a good feeling, making it easier for others to listen to you. Learning to speak up when others are talking is a very important step to being an active part of the group. It's about finding your voice and feeling. 3. Guiding the conversation. Sometimes, when you are with a group of people talking, you have a good idea. You hear what others say and you think, I have something to say about this. But then the talk moves fast. Your idea, which was clear in your head, starts to disappear like fog. This can feel bad, like seeing a train leave without you. This is where learning to guide the talk helps. It does not mean being bossy or taking over. Think of it like being a gentle sheep herder, helping the sheep of ideas move in a way that includes everyone and especially your ideas. Speaking well in a group is not just about waiting for your turn to talk. It is also about making sure your voice, once heard, helps shape what the group talks about. It is about feeling you have some control over your talking time, and that what you say really matters. Think about Sarah. Sarah is learning English, and she is in a group for studying. They are talking about a book they all read. One person talks about a funny mistake a character made. Another person laughs and tells about a funny mistake they made. The talk is happy and friendly, but Sarah had a deeper thought about the book's meaning, something she really wanted to share. She tried to speak, but the laughter and stories about personal mistakes continued. Her deeper thought felt too serious for the happy mood, and she worried it would stop the fun. She felt shy, as she often did. Her idea, which she thought was important, was getting lost. This is a feeling many English learners know. You have something good to say, but the fast speed of a group talk, or how people connect ideas, can make it hard for your point to be heard and explored. That is why learning to guide the talk is so important for speaking well in a group. It gives you ways to gently bring the focus back to your ideas, or to connect your thoughts to what is already being said, so what you say is not just a quick moment but part of the ongoing talk. The power of gentle guiding. Guiding a talk is like gently pushing a river's water, not stopping it. You are not trying to stop others from talking or to make everyone listen only to you. Instead, you use your words to build bridges between what is being said and what you want to say. It is about being thoughtful and kind, and using simple words to bring attention back to a subject, or to introduce a new, related idea that you think is important for the group to think about. Think about how talks naturally move. One person says something and someone else connects it to their own life. Then someone else might connect that life story to a different subject. This is normal, but sometimes, this natural flow can take the talk away from a point you wanted to explore. Gentle guiding means seeing when this happens and using your words to guide the group back to that point, or to a new part of the subject that you want to explore. It shows you are paying attention and thinking, and that you have something important to share. It is a key part of feeling confident because you know you can help decide where the talk goes, not just follow it. Phrases to bring it back. One of the best ways to guide a talk is by using phrases that help you return to something said before or connect what is being said now to something you want to talk about. These phrases are like signs, gently reminding the group where you want to go. They show you are listening and thinking, and that you want to make the talk deeper. Let's look at Sarah's situation again. The group was sharing funny stories from their lives. Sarah wanted to talk about the book's meaning. Instead of just waiting for a moment that might never come, or feeling sad, she could have used a phrase like, "That's a really funny story. It makes me think a little about how the main character in the book, even though they made that mistake, was trying to do something good. It makes me think about see how that works." First, she showed she heard what the other person said. That's a really funny story. This shows respect and that she was listening. Then, she made a connection. It makes me think a little about how the main character in the book. This links her idea to the current subject. Finally, she opened the door for her own point. It makes me think about this show she has something new to add, but it is related to what is already being discussed. Here are some other helpful phrases you can use to gently bring the talk back to a point or introduce your related idea. To go back to what Name was saying about subject, this is a very clear but polite way to return to something said before. For example, to go back to what Maria was saying about the end of the book, I had a thought about that. This shows you remember and value what Maria said, and now you want to add to it. That's an interesting point, and it makes me think about this as like Sarah's example. It shows you think the current speaker's idea is good, while smoothly moving to your own. For instance, that's an interesting point about how hard it is to learn new things. And it makes me think about how difficult it was for the characters in the story to get used to the new situation. Before we move on, I wanted to add one more thought about this phrase is great when you feel the group is about to change the subject, but you still have something important to say about the current one. It creates a small stop. You could say, before we move on to planning our next meeting, I wanted to add one more thought about the money plan from earlier. I think we missed one important cost. I was wondering if we could also discuss this as a slightly more direct way to introduce a new part of the subject. It is good when you want to make the talk wider. For example, if everyone is talking about the problems with a project, you might say, I was wondering if we could also discuss possible answers, not just the problems. Building on that idea, what if we also considered? This is a wonderful phrase for making the talk grow in a creative way. It shows you are not just adding your own idea, but you are working together to explore possibilities. For instance, if people are talking about ways to save money, you could say, building on that idea of cutting costs, what if we also considered finding new ways to earn more money? Practicing these phrases is important. Try saying them out loud when you are by yourself. Imagine you are in a talk and use them. The more you practice, the more natural they will feel. When you use them, remember to keep your voice friendly and open. The goal is to include your idea, not to stop others from talking. Techniques to expand the topic. Besides just bringing the talk back, you can also use your words to expand the subject, inviting others to explore new, related ideas that you want to discuss. This is a strong way to guide the talk and show that you can share more than just agreeing. It is about adding depth and new views. Think of it this way. A talk is not just a straight line. It is more like a tree with branches. You want to be able to add new branches that are connected to the main trunk. Here are some techniques and phrases to help you expand the subject. Following up on that, I was wondering if this phrase is great for introducing a new question or a related point that naturally comes from what someone just said. It shows curiosity and a desire to explore more. For example, if someone is talking about the difficulties of a new computer program, you could say, following up on that, I was wondering if anyone has found specific online guides that are easy to follow. That's a great point. And on that note, could we also consider, this phrase is like building on that idea, but it is often used to introduce a slightly different angle or a practical next step. It shows you appreciate the current point and want to add another layer. Imagine a team talking about ways to advertise. Someone mentions using social media. You could answer, that's a great point about social media. And on that note, could we also consider how to know if our social media posts are working well? Building on that idea, what if we also thought about, this is a more team-oriented way to introduce a new possibility or a pretend situation. It invites others to think creatively with you. If people are talking about a problem, you might say, building on that idea of needing more help, what if we also thought about working with another department to share some of our work? This suggests a proactive and solution-focused approach, introducing a related but different idea. Sometimes, your idea might be a bit further from the immediate subject, but still important. You can connect it by saying something like, "That's an interesting view. It reminds me of a similar situation I read about, where they dealt with," or, "Speaking of difficulties, that makes me think about another difficulty we might face soon, which is." The important thing here is to make the connection clear. Do not jump from talking about apples to talking about cars without explaining how they are connected, even if it is a creative connection. For example, if everyone is talking about the color of a new building, and you want to talk about its effect on the environment, you could say, "That's an interesting talk about the color. It makes me think about the building's overall look, and I was wondering if we have thought about how good for the environment the materials used will be." These phrases help you move from just reacting to a talk to actively shaping it. They are tools for confident participation. When you use them, you are not just speaking English, you are using English to share your thoughts, influence the direction of the group, and make sure your ideas are heard and thought about. This is a powerful part of speaking well in a group. Checking in to keep control once you have shared your point, or while you are explaining it. You can also use certain phrases to check in with the group. This does a few things. It makes sure people are following you. It gives you a moment to gather your thoughts, and it can even create a natural stop where you can then speak again with another related point or question. This is a smart way to keep your speaking turn and control the flow. Let's go back to Sarah. After she used a phrase to bring the talk back to the book's meaning, she started explaining her idea. To make sure people were listening and to give herself a moment, she could have added. So to sum up my thought on this, the writer wanted us to see that even though the mistake was funny, it showed the character's real struggle. Does that make sense to everyone? This is a great example of checking in. So to sum up my thought on this shows you are finishing your point, or at least a clear part of it. It helps the listener understand what you have said. Does that make sense to everyone? This is a direct question that asks for feedback and shows you care if your message is understood. It also creates a stop, giving you time to think and for others to answer. If someone answers with a question, you get another chance to speak. Here are some more ways to check in and keep control. Does that make sense to everyone? As mentioned, this is great after explaining your point. So, to sum up my thought on this is useful to finish a complex idea before moving on or stopping. I'd like to hear what others think about this part. This phrase is interesting because it sounds like you are giving the floor to others, but it can actually be a smart pause. After you say this, you can wait. If no one immediately speaks up, you can then say, for example, 4. Staying confident in group talks. Group talks in English can feel like a busy market. Many voices, many ideas. It's okay to feel a bit lost, like you're trying to catch a fast train. This feeling is normal. It means the talk is lively. It doesn't mean your English isn't good. Think of it this way: when people talk, the conversation is alive. Your job isn't to stop the market. It's to find your place and share your own idea. Feeling a little lost is something everyone feels, even people who speak English all the time. It's like being in a crowd. You can still hear and see, you just need to look closely. Feeling unsure is a common step for many English learners. We can accept this feeling and then move on. It's a normal part of learning, not a stop sign. Knowing that this feeling is normal can help a lot. It makes things feel less scary. You are not alone. Many people learning English worry about their accent or not knowing every word. But most people are listening to the ideas, not how perfect the words are. They want to hear you. So, when voices blend together, take a breath. It's just people talking. You will feel more sure of yourself as you learn to join in. The first step is knowing that the noise is just energy. A little planning can make a big difference. You don't need to write a whole speech. Just thinking for a minute or two can be like packing helpful things for a trip. Before a meeting or a get-together, think about what people might talk about. Are there topics you like? Maybe think of one or two simple sentences you could say. For example, if people talk about weekend plans, you could think, I will say, I plan to rest at home. Having these small thoughts ready can make you feel prepared. It's like having a map. Even if you don't use the exact words, just thinking them can make you feel ready to join in. It's not about memorizing, but about having a gentle idea of what you might say. Thinking ahead can help you feel more sure of yourself and less surprised. How you stand or sit can also show confidence, even before you speak. This is about your body. Imagine someone sitting with their shoulders down, looking at the floor. They might seem unsure. Now imagine someone sitting up tall, with their shoulders back, maybe looking around with a small smile. This person looks sure of themselves. You don't need to be loud. Simple things like standing or sitting tall can make you feel more sure, and others will see it. When you're in a group, try to sit up straight. If you're in a circle, try to look at different people when they talk. Even a small nod when someone is speaking can make you feel more connected. These actions tell people, I am here, I am listening, and I am part of this group. They help you feel more steady and in control. It's about being present in the room. Let's talk about an anchor phrase. This is a simple phrase you can remember. It's like a mental anchor to hold on to when the talk gets busy. It's not to interrupt rudely, but to show you want to speak. Think of it as a gentle way to say, I have something to add when there's a pause. A good anchor phrase is, can I add something here? Or adding to that, these phrases are short, polite, and show you want to share. When there's a small break in the talk, or someone finishes an idea, you can use this phrase. It gives you time to think and speak. Say it in a calm voice. It's a polite request, not a demand. This anchor phrase can be your secret tool. It helps you feel safer because you have a plan to join the talk. It's like a safety net, letting you know you have a way to be heard even in a busy talk. Another strong tool for confident group speaking is accepting that mistakes are okay. It's easy to worry about making errors, using the wrong word, or having an accent. But here's a secret. Most people in a group talk aren't looking for perfection. They are looking for connection and shared ideas. If you say something that isn't perfect, it's fine. Most people will understand you, or they might ask you to say it again, which is also a chance to practice. The goal is to share your idea clearly, not to have perfect grammar. Think of building something. You don't need every nail to be perfectly hammered to have a strong building. You just need the main parts to be in place. Your ideas are the main parts. Focus on sharing your message. When you stop worrying about being perfect, you have more energy to join the talk and enjoy it. Accepting that mistakes are okay is a big step to feeling truly sure of yourself. It helps you be more present, more involved, and more willing to take small chances that lead to real connection. Let's think about Sarah. Sarah is a kind person with a good sense of humor, but she often felt shy in group talks. She would listen carefully, nodding, but her own thoughts stayed inside. She worried her English wasn't good enough, her accent was too strong, and she would say something wrong. One day, her friends were talking about a new project. Everyone was sharing ideas, and Sarah had a really good suggestion, but she couldn't find a way to jump in. She felt that familiar worry in her stomach. The talk seemed to move too fast, like a river carrying everyone along. She felt like she was standing on the side, wishing she could swim, but afraid to get in. As she listened, she remembered some advice. Find your moment and use a simple phrase. She saw a short pause after Mark finished explaining his idea. It was a small opening, but it was there. Taking a deep breath, Sarah sat up a little straighter. She looked at the person next to her. Then, in a clear but not loud voice, she said, "Excuse me, can I add something here?" It worked right away. A few people turned to her, looking friendly. The noise of the talk seemed to get quieter for a moment, and she felt calm. It was like the river had slowed down just for her. She had her anchor. She felt ready, not scared. This simple phrase gave her the chance she needed, from others and from herself, to speak. Now, with everyone listening, Sarah shared her idea. She didn't worry about perfect grammar. She spoke clearly, explaining her idea step by step. She used simple words, focusing on the main point. She even smiled a little as she spoke. When she finished, there was a short, thoughtful silence, and then her friend David said, "That's a great point, Sarah. I hadn't thought of it that way." A real smile spread across Sarah's face. It wasn't just that her idea was heard, it was the feeling of success. She had found her way through the busy market of talk and shared her own valuable idea. She had felt the rush of wanting to speak, the fear of not knowing what to say, and she had found her way. She had found her voice. This small success made her feel much more sure of herself. She understood that confident group speaking wasn't about being the loudest or speaking the most. It was about finding courage, using the right tools, and believing that what you have to say is important. By using her anchor phrase and focusing on her message, Sarah changed her feeling of being lost into a feeling of being a valued part of the group. She learned that by planning a little, using her body to feel present, and accepting that it's okay to not be perfect, she could stay confident in group talks. She was no longer just listening, she was speaking up. What are the most common worries or doubts English learners have in group talks, and how can we directly help with them in this part? The most common worries are about being judged. Learners fear their accent will be made fun of, they'll make grammar mistakes, or they won't be understood. There's also a fear of seeming not smart if they can't say things quickly or perfectly. Another big worry is the fear of silence. Not knowing what to say when it's their turn, or thinking their idea won't matter. We help with these by saying that feeling overwhelmed is normal, the noise of the talk, by saying that most people care about ideas, not perfection, and by giving clear tools like anchor phrases. Sarah's story directly shows how to overcome these fears with a simple plan. We tell readers that their ideas are valuable and that sharing clearly, not perfectly, is the goal. By showing these fears as common steps that can be overcome with practice and the right way of thinking, we make them less powerful. Besides specific phrases, what are the main inner changes that help a learner feel more confident in a group? The interchange is from feeling worried and shy to feeling capable and like you belong. It's moving from "Am I good enough?" "Do I have something to offer?" This change is helped by several things we've talked about. First, saying that it's normal makes you feel less alone and like you're failing. When you know everyone finds it a bit hard, it's less about you failing and more about dealing with a common situation. Second, planning, even a little, shifts the focus from what could go wrong to what you can share. It's being active. Third, body language helps you feel present and in control. When you look confident, you start to feel it. It works both ways. Fourth, anchor phrases give you a sense of control. Having a planned way to join the talk reduces the fear of the unknown and feeling powerless. Finally, accepting that mistakes are okay is maybe the biggest inner change. It stops you from trying too hard to be perfect, letting you focus on connecting and sharing. This change is about knowing you are valuable and have a right to join in, no matter how well you speak English. It's about feeling like a valued person in the group, not someone trying to fit in from the outside. Now that we've built a foundation of inner confidence and understand how to show it, let's move on to the important skill of actually joining the conversation when the time is right. Conclusion. We are at the very end of our book. I am so happy you finished this learning trip with me. Do you remember when talking in a group in English seemed a bit scary? Maybe you felt your ideas were hidden, or you did not know when to speak. We spent our time looking at easy and good ways to fix that. We learned how to speak out. We call this confident group speaking. Our main aim in this book was to help you join group talks easily. We wanted you to share your ideas clearly, and we wanted you to use your speaking time well. This is the main part of confident group speaking. We found ways to know when to join a talk. We used simple words to show we wanted to add our thoughts. You learned how to be heard even when others are talking. This stops your ideas from being forgotten. We also practiced how to politely keep your turn to speak. This helps you share your ideas without taking too much time. These are your real tools for any English talk. Each time you use a new word or idea, you get better at confident group speaking. Now, the most fun part starts. It is time to use these skills. The real success comes when you use what we learned in your talks every day. Do not try to use everything at once. Pick 1 or 2 ways that feel good to you. Try them out. Maybe start in a simple talk with a friend, or try it in a small meeting. It is okay if a phrase does not sound perfect. It is okay to feel unsure sometimes. This is part of learning. The main thing is to keep trying. Think about your next group talk. Imagine yourself joining in easily. Imagine sharing your ideas and feeling good about it. This is the good feeling that confident group speaking can give you. You have the knowledge. You have the tools. You have the power to speak. Your thoughts, your experiences, and your ideas matter. Do not let fear stop you from sharing them. The world wants to hear you. So, I ask you to step forward. Welcome chances to speak. Practice, learn, and grow. Your trip to confident group speaking is just beginning. Thank you for being with me. I am excited to see you shine in your group talks. Go and speak up.